Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is Football and Nonsense. It is our end of the year special. I want to thank all of you for tuning in for what will be the last episode of 2017. We are going to say a fond farewell to the year that was. We'll be going over everything that happened in 2017, a few things that we hope for in 2018. Last night's episode with James the Sports Guy. It is his birthday today, so be sure to go and wish him a happy one. It was fun to catch up with him last night and have one of those kind of change of pace episodes where you just throw out the talking points in the script and say, how are you doing? What's new with you? Let's get caught up. Shared some Christmas time stories, surviving Christmas, Starbucks hot chocolate, and then, of course, some wrestling talk, because why not? He's the sports guy, and we love wrestling. So if you missed that episode, please, I encourage you, go check it out because it was a great one. But now is the official end of the year episode, and we'll have a fresh batch of new episodes and guests for you in 2018 coming next week. So that's very exciting stuff to look forward to. I'll have a special surprise guest for you coming up on this episode. It was promised to this individual because of what this individual achieved during the 2017 year. I don't even know if this person knows what it is that I'm referring to, but you'll hear from them a little later. So I guess let's go ahead and dive right into this show the way that we do here, which is the headlines first. And the headlines are, in case you missed it and you've been living under a rock or you're boycotting the NFL, the Cowboys have been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. That's right. They had, one task. One task. That's all they had to do was beat the Seahawks, and their playoff hopes would still be alive. They were at home. They looked poised to do it because Seattle has not been that good this year. But they couldn't do it. Dan the Man was not very Dan the Man-ish, and it was one of those moments where, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for Cowboys or Cowboys fans because as a Niners fan, there is a rivalry there. I do think that there need to be some changes made in 2018 if this team is to, in fact, be a true contender. They were contenders last year, but I don't think you could call them true contenders for the fact that they were one and done. They did not even win and then were done. They were first round bye, played and lost to Green Bay because Ron is the man. You know what I'm saying? So it's back to the drawing board, back to square one. Some teams that have already started to make those moves as far as what we can expect in the offseason. Giants have announced the hiring of their new general manager, and that individual was the former general manager of the Carolina Panthers. In fact, I have his name here. Let's see here. Let's look up Giant. My goodness, internet. Take forever. I apologize. I should have had this more planned out, but I didn't realize I was going to be getting that into GM talk on the show. Normally, I am not. The Giants interviewed Dave Gettleman, Louis Riddick, Mark Ross, and Kevin Abrams for the GM job. Many thought they'd interview more from other teams next week. Not now. Gettleman is the man. So, David Gettleman is the new GM for the New York Football Giants per Adam Schefter, and I feel like I'm obligated to say that since he always finishes his tweets with per source. The door is open for Johnny Manziel's potential football return. I don't know what that means. I guess the CFL is a potential landing spot for him, but what good is that going to do? I don't know. The Eli Apple story has been one that we've heard this week. He has been placed on suspension from the Giants. His 2017 season is now officially over. Eli Apple, from the early season struggles to the benchings, to the confrontations with the coaches, to the suspension, pretty well known his relationship with cornerback coach Tim Walton was shattered. So there was some issues there, but he has been called a cancer by teammates. How about that one? It's not a word that you hear often, but when you say it, you tend to mean it. Like it's the word that you use that you don't use lightly. James Harrison, who was released from the Pittsburgh Steelers due to limited playing time, now plays for the New England Patriots. Called that one, saw that one coming. A lot of Steelers criticizing James Harrison's move to the Patriots. I mean, it's not something that is unheard of, unspeakable, or even unbelievable, but it is a move that you wish wouldn't happen, and then it does. The 49ers have won 4 games in a row. That's right. They are now 5-10. Jimmy Garoppolo is 6-0 as a starter. Here's a fun fact. He had been compared to several other quarterbacks during his starting streak, right? He got to, I think, 3-0 as a starter, 3 or 4-0 as a starter, and it was him and 2 other quarterbacks, one of them being Ben Roethlisberger. Then he won his 5th in a row, and it was down to just him and Big Ben. And then he won his 6th in a row, and still down to him and Big Ben. And so I went and I looked it up because I was like, okay, where does Big Ben's streak end? And Garoppolo's could potentially be the new record holder. Big Ben in his first year, probably only Steelers fans would remember this, but my God, he went 13-0 as a starter. That is unreal. And of course, that was the year they would go on to the Super Bowl 40, beat the Seahawks, and the rest, as we say, and as we know, is history. But 13 wins in a row as a starter. That's incredible. I don't think Jimmy G could pull off 13 in a row, but man, for them to beat what some consider the number 1 defense, Connor Ferguson would argue number 2 defense in the league because he's a Vikings fan, that said something. Final score, 44-33. First time that has ever happened in NFL history. And it was a very good win. I know that Jimmy is getting a lot of the praise over the last weeks, but you can't help but praise the play and the clutchness of kicker Robbie Gould. Okay, he was the man who did it against his former team, Chicago, and then did it once again as time expired against the Titans, going 6 for 6. So he's clearly an MVP. The defense in this last game, though, 49ers defense, not the Jaguars defense, they were the unsung heroes because they had some turnovers and some scoring on their end. So Jimmy G is going to get a lot of the praise because it's his face that's under center now as these wins are happening. But the rest of the team plays like they've kind of been reignited, remotivated, a newfound motivation to play well. And I'm not going to fault that. There's no reason to. People saying that, well, with all these wins, they're slipping in draft position. Screw off. I don't care. No one, the people that argue that you want to play terrible and you want to pretty much throw your season so you can get a good draft pick, okay, show me the proof. Then we'll talk. But there is no proof. There simply is no proof, no evidence to say that a top 5 pick will mount to be anything. I mean, sure, some of them work out, but when you consider what the top picks are, it's like, what, a linebacker, maybe a defensive end, a running back, and quarterback, of course, is the sexiest pick of them all. We've got Jimmy G. Our defense looks pretty good. We have spent the last several years rebuilding that defense, and it looks great right now with the young talent on that team. Let them continue to mesh and click and win, because if you do it now, you don't have to worry about trying to cram it all into the offseason. There's a lot of guys that I hope that we keep. I realize that there's a lot of guys that we probably won't keep. But Jimmy Garoppolo, Robbie Gould, and Marquise Goodwin, I would love to see stay. I really would. Along with, of course, favorites like Joe Staley, Carlos Hyde, Matt Breida, Kendrick Bourne. I don't know who I like more between George Kittle and Selleck, but both have been very good. The whole offense just seems to be very refreshed since Jimmy G took over, so I like it. Let's keep it going. John Lynch, GM of the Year. Patriots have a first-round bye. Steelers have a first-round bye. Jaguars, they clinched their division even in loss because the Titans lost as well. Titans need to win, and then they're in. and that will come down to this last game against the Jaguars. Also, Steelers need to win and have the Patriots lose to the Jets in order to get the number 1 seed. Falcons, all they need to do is win, and they're in because they play the Carolina Panthers. So it won't be an easy task. Both the Panthers and the Saints are already in. It's just a matter of who gets the division title and who gets the wild card spot. And as far as the Seahawks, they need to win, and they need to have the Falcons lose, which how many times in years past have we seen a team that all they need to do is win against the team that doesn't need to do anything, and then they lose, and then the other team sneaks in. So if Seattle loses, they're out. Okay, they need to win. They need to take care of stuff on their end first. But the Falcons, in order to win, it would be very helpful for their case to win this last game of the season, so they don't have to worry about anybody else and what they do. But there is no Sunday night football. That's something that I thought was very, very interesting. It was decided that, in fairness, that there would not be a Sunday night football game this last week. So everything's jam-packed into, if you're on the West Coast, your morning, your afternoon, and if you're on the East Coast, your afternoon and your later afternoon. And, of course, James and I talked a lot about wrestling last night, Raw and SmackDown. Raw, first time it was ever broadcast live on Christmas. Michael Cole would not let you forget that. John Cena had a great match against Elias. AJ Styles against Kevin Owens was great. There's a tournament for the U.S. title. So a lot of stuff going on, and we both feel that a lot is riding on the Royal Rumble because it is the tone setter for that year. It's the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. It is how you set the bar, no pun intended, for what fans are going to think and be talking about for pretty much the remainder of the year. The Royal Rumble, a lot rests in it, and I don't agree with John Cena or Ronda Rousey winning the men's or the women's Royal Rumble. I think it needs to be somebody that's full-time, that's been there, that's helped lay down this foundation. So, but only Vince could screw this up, and that sounds like a way that Vince would screw this up. Oh, but that's going to do it for the headlines. We, of course, added a name to the list last night, James's sister Anna, for the rant that she went on about hating Starbucks hot chocolate when he got the whole family gift sets, including Starbucks hot chocolate. Now, I will say this. I know, and a lot of people out there know, that when it comes to anything chocolate from Starbucks, you just pass on. Mochas, hot chocolate, it is not very good. It's very bitter. The only thing that you really order from Starbucks is some kind of caramel frap something that you can't really pronounce the name of. It's got a fancy name, a Starbucks name. That's the only thing that you order from Starbucks, if not just straight black coffee. So stay away from the hot chocolate and from the mochas, because there's just something weird about their chocolate. There really is. And I'm not even a Starbucks fan at all. Anyway, I'll get a caramel frap probably like once a year, because I happen to run into the one person that can't drink anything but Starbucks, and they are going to Starbucks and offer me a drink, and I'll be like, get me a caramel frap. Okay, the blended ice one with the whipped cream. Yeah, I'll cheat a little. It's fine. It's no big deal. So that was a lot of fun talking about that last night. Of course, if you missed any of it, you can go and check out the show, that episode in particular, in podcast form by subscribing on iTunes, SoundCloud, or iHeartRadio. Replays of the episodes happen the next day at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on WBLZ Sports, the app, or WBLZSportsMedia.com, which is the home base for The Place with Balls. WBLZ, a proud member of the family for 2017. It was a good run. We're going to hope to do bigger and better things in 2018. And then, of course, you can listen live, Spreaker.com, or thefanshow.com, which is your home base for all things football and nonsense. And so with that, I'm going to go to a commercial break, round up my guest of honor, and we will be back with more of The Fan Show after this.
This is The Sheet.
Gets me all revved up. My face is now red. My ears are just freaking boiling.
He's so raw that Sky hates him.
Yeah, he had 51 touchdowns. 4,900 total yards.
I know y'all like that, but I got to run. And only in Alabama that could happen, I have to say.
They're so good. Man, they would win the Big Ten if they were in the Big Ten. You could be doing something vision-based in front of you and reach down and grab a handful of insane goodness.
Give it to him. Kudos. I'm clapping like a golfer. Very good, Johnny. I'm proud of you.
Wow, you guys agree on something again? I'm very impressed. You ever had a bad week? Just you walk outside, step in a puddle, like right when you walk outside. I mean, how does a puddle right outside your house? Are you stand on the curb and somebody drives by and splashes water up on you? Or it's just raining on you, not anyone else?
I will tell you, before you go any further, I cannot hear Chad when he speaks.
Good. You're listening to the sheet, man. I don't really know what we're doing.
Every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on WBLZ Sports.
Whether it be your industrial, commercial, or residential needs, Gen Service is the electrical contractor for you. The Gen Service team has the expertise, commitment, and educational years to help you solve all your electrical concerns. They have you in their best interest with helpful suggestions to accommodate your every want. Give them a call, no matter the size of the job, at 740-438-7173. Mention WBLZ Sports, and you'll get a discount. That's Gen Service, 740-438-7173.
This is Nick Ficarelli, the mad scientist of sports. Join me and Dr. D, Derek Jones, live every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, for the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. The big intellects, the experiments on the chalkboard, and the guest subjects will be rolling in. Mad Scientist Sports Lab, only on WBLZ Sports, where we got balls.
Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. He has over 30 years of painting experience. He's interior, exterior, commercial, or residential. Doug Peffer covers it all. Is your house looking ugh? We'll call on Doug. Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361. Mention WBLZ Sports and get a special We've Got Balls discount. That's Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361.
Check out Thursday Night Tailgate, where NFL legends live on. We bring you 5 NFL legends every week, sharing their stories and insights, plus our spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. Now on WBLZ Sports Talk Radio and WBLZSports.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and before I introduce my guest of honor, don't forget the bowl season is here, and it's time to get in on the action with my bookie. Are you sick and tired of getting the runaround when you ask for a payout? No problems here. Sign up for MyBookie at mybookie.ag today and get paid fast when you win. MyBookie is your hookup for all your betting needs, and you can even deposit using Bitcoin. Say what? That's right. Where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on, and if you want to make money betting on the bowl games, you got to go to mybookie.ag. They're still the only site that I'd recommend. I trust them, but you don't have to take my word for it. Check them out for yourself. It's the perfect way to wrap up 2017 and start off 2018. They have the odds on every matchup as well as in-game live betting on all this season's bowl action. And don't forget, once again, that is mybookie.ag. Use promo code TheFanShow to activate the offer. You play, you win, you get paid. Join MyBookie right now, and they'll match up to 50% of your deposit as a bonus. So if you're going to bet, the only place to do it, mybookie.ag. And with that, let's go ahead and welcome a man who, well, bet on himself in the beginning. And I told the group, the league, that as part of your winnings, which includes a fabulous belt from the good folks at UndisputedBelts.com, is a segment on the show for your victory speech or however you want to use it. So Leveland Rounds Rob, my friend from Seattle, who has won it all, Fan Nation Fantasy Football League Season 2. Here he is. Rob, congratulations.
Thank you very much, my friend.
And how nerve-wracking was it going into that final game?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. pretty damn nerve-wracking. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I am a horribly, horribly competitive person as it is. So just regardless, I had a free league that I was also playing in that I was probably equally as hyped up about, just because I hate losing and whatever. But yeah, especially this one, I told several people that out of any league I've been in, I wanted to win this one more than anything else.
Because I appreciate that.
Yeah. So yeah, I was definitely nervous going into the last couple of weeks, especially with my semifinal game against Connor, since he had he had been the number one seed pretty much throughout the season. So
yeah, he dominated, man. He did.
He really
very
did
well. And it's funny because you and I thought we had played each other twice in the regular season, and so the playoff matchup was our rubber match. But no, we had only played once before, and I won that one, and then you beat me in the playoffs. So we split the series. You obviously won the more important of the two, which was devastating for me because here all season, Connor keeps winning, and I'm thinking I just want to be, a higher seed just because, and so I can avoid playing him right off the bat. And then he was my last matchup of the season. I lost, and I'm like, well, crap, now what does that do? It puts me up against you, and I was like, great, we just played each other like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now we've got to do it all over again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny. I was looking back through the standings, and I realized that we somehow ended up in clearly the dominant division in our league. You had Connor at 10-3. You had the Gurley MVPs and me at 9-4, and then you and Zach Brenner at 8-5. Whereas the other division, James won it at 8-5.
Yeah, and with the indoor football league, fantasy league that I did, I ended up separating everybody in there based on their location. So I did an East and a West, and there wasn't really as many West Coast guys as I thought there was, but it still worked out just fine. But with ours, I kind of wanted to just leave it all up to the app to do the sorting, because I didn't know specifically where everybody was located, so I didn't want to do it myself and kind of leave it to there's no better chance than random chance to split this up and make it fair. So I think it worked out well. We definitely were in the more competitive division, but that's why when it comes to fantasy, and I know some people disagree with this, but this is my own thing. When it comes to fantasy football, if it's a 10-person league, I like to see 6 people advance to the playoffs, because this isn't where it's only the elite survive. Everybody is paying into this. Everybody's trying to have fun, and I want to give as much opportunity to everyone to enjoy it for as long as they can, as I can. So I will always put a majority into the playoffs, and I understand people's argument, well, that means that the regular season doesn't matter that much. It might not, but at the same time, I'm not going to be some fantasy football league Nazi about this and say, yeah, we've got like 16 people in 4 playoff spots, so you better bring it, because then you get people that quit and don't bother setting their lineups at like midway through the season, which I hate. I'm the kind of competitive person that I'll set my lineup no matter what, just because I don't care if I've been out for 3 weeks. I just want to win, to say that I won.
Yeah, of course. I'm totally with you. And as somebody who has, and I think I mentioned this at one point, this year when I thought our match that you had won, this would have been my 7th year in a row where I made the playoffs and lost in the first round. And I went back and checked, and 5 of those last seasons, I was either the 1st or 2nd seed going into the playoffs. So you, my friend, helped me break a very, very disheartening stretch of ineptitude. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, you can thank me, but really all the thanks goes to Gostowski, who made the list that week, because that kick was unnecessary and just, it hurt. It hurt so bad, because I was sitting there watching the game because we switched to cable instead of doing the Sling TV thing, so we can watch a full Monday night game before Raw starts, pretty much at 8 o'clock here. So I remember toggling back and forth And I just switched back, and I was like, let's see what they do here, because Miami's pretty much got this thing in the bag, but I want to see what they do right here. And I said, all I have to do is just hope that Gostowski doesn't, kick one more field goal, and I should be good. And then I hear the announcers go, they're sending out the field goal unit, and I'm like, what? Why? Why are they doing that? What is happening? What is going on? And the one commentator says, yeah, this is a smart move. They need both. You might as well take the field goal here. And I was like, no, it's not smart. You still need a touchdown. Get the touchdown first, because the field goal's easier to try for later.
Having lost a couple games to a very similar scenario, I feel your pain, my friend.
Oh, it was tough. But I guess, winning in fantasy football definitely makes up for the fact that it would appear that your team is going to go 0 for 16, which is an elite club like the 72 Dolphins that went undefeated all season. I've talked to a lot of people about this. A lot of us thought that before the 2008 Lions that we would never see a team lose every game in a season. And then that happened with the Lions. And then we thought maybe the Browns last year, and now probably the Browns this year. We all agree it is harder to lose every game in a season than it is to win every game in a season, because it's almost as if you have to just have luck against you for all 16 of your games, that you don't get, a majority of the calls, that you don't get a lucky field goal miss or make. I mean, it is truly mind-blowing how hard it is to lose every game in a season, and we might be on the verge of a team doing it for the second time.
Well, as somebody who has watched every minute of every Browns game this year, I can assure you that a lot of that has happened. There have been a lot of missed calls and this and that, and that's certainly not to downplay anything else, because I think the biggest problem is that we have a completely overmatched person as our head coach, who apparently is going to be back for a third year, which I, for the life of me, cannot understand, but I don't own the team, so that's not my call. But,
well,
yeah.
My observation, and I understand people's outrage at guys that get fired after a year or two, and when the argument is that's not long enough to build a team. It may not be, but at the same time, you're going to see what you need to see in order to give that person any more time. We don't expect a team to do what the Rams have done, which is go from worst to first, with the change of a head coach. We just expect to see progress, which is what you're seeing in San Francisco right now. I never thought Chip Kelly was the solution ever, and so I was more than happy when he was gone after just a year. They're like, well, he didn't even have a chance. No, but he didn't need one, because his system only works at the college level. So
right.
I don't know if I agree with giving Hugh Jackson a third year when it seems like there's so many other problems going on with that team. I mean, the inability to close out games like against Green Bay and a few others during this season and come up with losses for those, it just really seems like there is a clear mismatch and miscommunication happening on several fronts of this football team, that you can replace the head coach, but there's so much more that should be replaced too. And I feel like they start clean slate every year. So I don't know what the Browns need right now.
Well, and I went into the season very much saying that it would have to be, an atrocity compared to last year for me to be in the camp of them not wanting to bring Hugh back, because, like you said, the Browns have, especially for the last, probably 6-7 years now, they've basically done 2 years out, 2 years out, 2 years out, and you can't get any sort of continuity with a team or a front office or what have you when you're constantly switching people in and out. That said, I would say that going from 1-15 to 0-16, which, again, looks very, very probable, I would say that qualifies as an atrocity. So, it's, I don't know. Like I said, part of me really wants to believe that Hugh Jackson can't be as stupid as he's seemed at some points during the last couple seasons, and maybe just that one more year is going to be the thing that gets him over the hump. And then there's part of me that says this guy is a moron and he needs to be as far away from a head coaching job as humanly possible starting today. So,
You know, it's funny because I thought Hugh Jackson would be out of Cleveland long before McAdoo was out in New York. I think that was probably one of the biggest surprises of the season because usually come week 17, we've got at least one or two head coaching vacancies, and one was well predicted. The other was kind of, well, I mean, I guess if they want to, if they're really that upset with the results. So there's only one vacancy right now. There's rumors about, of course, Bruce Arians, if he's done with the Cardinals right now. What's going to happen with Seattle? Not much talk about Pete Carroll, but just, what's the future of that team as far as what we have come to know it for, which is its defense. Jason Garrett, I feel like, really needs to be a name mentioned for the hot seat because Cowboys fans don't even like him. And then you look around the rest of the league, Jay Gruden, is he really that good of a coach, or is he just good enough that he's been able to produce, mediocre results and that keeps him around? So there's a lot to be discussed, but this Hugh Jackson thing is baffling. Marvin Lewis, I guess they said that this was the long con, that if Hugh Jackson left, Cincinnati and went to Cleveland, that they would end up trading him for Marvin Lewis because that's what he wanted the whole time. But, those are fun theories to talk about.
Well, again, having watched the majority of the Browns games for, the last few years and seeing some of the inexplicable moves that Hugh Jackson has made, I'm not normally a conspiracy theory guy, but you basically have to wonder if that's not true or if he's just really that stupid. So,
so one thing that I need your help picking for later on the show is this week's Butt Fumble Award winner. It'll be the last one for 2017, but the second to last one of the 2017 regular season. My choices are down to two, and normally I leave this to a vote, but it's kind of been not as lustrous of a nominee pool these last few weeks as it has been in other weeks. But I have the Dallas Cowboys, who all they needed to do was win at home, and they kept their playoff hopes alive, and they didn't. They failed on multiple fronts. Granted, it was Seattle, but Seattle has not played like a team that you should be intimidated by or nervous for. And then there's the Steelers for releasing James Harrison, who is now a New England Patriot.
Oh, so tempting to root for the Steelers just because, but yeah, I don't know. I've heard a lot of different stories about the whole James Harrison thing. I've heard some people say that he kind of forced his way out, so it wasn't necessarily I've heard a couple different things going on. So I don't know. I can't really fault them for that. I feel like at this time of the year, if that's true, and you have some guy who's kind of making waves and trying to get himself out of a situation, you don't really want him around come playoff time. I think that the sooner you kind of get him out, the better. And from what I understand, he had kind of lost a lot of playing time anyhow. So I don't know. I can't, as much as I would like to say anything bad about the Steelers that I can't really fault them on that. So I think I'm going to have to vote for the Cowboys just because I can imagine Jerry Jones popping a couple wrinkles and having to go in for some more Botox for missing the playoffs this year, which just tickles me to no end.
There was a lot of really funny memes and stuff after that game. Like some people said that this was the most cowboyist way to end a Cowboy season ever. Which, I feel like, yeah, but at the same time last year, getting that first round bye and being the best record in the NFL and then having Aaron come and drop a few dimes on you, that was pretty fantastic and glorious too.
Right. Well, I mean, and to be fair, I mean, the Butt Fumble Award was named because, of the Cowboys. So I feel like it's only appropriate that this next to last one of the year go to them as well.
Yeah, it's very true. And, it was funny because we talked about last night how we're concerned about the WWE and that the Rumble is the first pay-per-view of the year, and it's really the tone setter. It's the bar for their whole calendar year, despite the fact that it starts the road to WrestleMania, which is just 3 months later, or 4, depending on where they put it. But, so much rides on what the Rumble produces, and I'm concerned. The rumors I'm hearing are it's either going to be John Cena or Shinsuke for the men's, and then Ronda Rousey, and I haven't heard a second name, for the women's. I don't think either of those, except for Shinsuke, can happen, because for WWE, it's been given this golden goose, this amazing, just on a silver platter gift that is the women's division, and to have someone that was not a member of that founding group that really laid the foundation for what we know as the women's division and not the Divas division, I think would just be an all-out crime, because Santino won Mrs. WrestleMania, okay? And, of course, that was a time before the women's division, so you can chalk that up to whatever you want. But then the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, you have Ellsworth hustle himself up there, grab the case, and drop it down to Carmella, which a lot of people were very soured on. So it's something that you need to do this right, or else you're going to be robbing the people, and especially that division, of something that they're already extremely proud to have and have worked so hard to be a part of.
Yes, I actually, and it's funny because I actually saw your post on that, and I wanted to, I actually almost tweeted you about that, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, so I can talk about it here. First of all, I just want to say I'm a complete idiot, because I said that the Cowboys were the reason for the Butt Fumble Award, thinking of the Tony Romo botch in the playoffs a few years ago, not realizing that it was Mark Sanchez. So I am not as, I'm not a complete idiot, just a partial idiot. All right, so that said, in theory, I agree with everything you're saying about the Women's Rumble, because you're absolutely right. I feel like they've kind of messed it up a couple times with the Money in the Bank and the other one, but I think that they're definitely setting up towards a Ronda Rousey appearance and her winning the Rumble, and I'll tell you why. If you notice, what has Asuka's finishing move always been? Up until maybe the last couple months or so, it's been the Asuka lock, right?
Yeah.
And now she's gone to the flying armbar, or just an armbar in general, which of course is Ronda Rousey's bread and butter. So it does seem like that would be where they're going with this. That being said, I don't necessarily think. I mean, I guess a lot of it depends on what Ronda Rousey's commitment is going to be. If it's just going to be one of these things where she kind of comes in and she's like, a part-timer like Brock Lesnar is, yeah, I think it's, I think you're kind of really doing a disservice to the Becky Lynch's and the, Naomi's and the other women there who've kind of really busted their butt to make the women's division what it is. That said, if Ronda Rousey's going to come in, she's going to be a full-timer and, really kind of put her, blood and sweat into this, which, I mean, from what I've heard, she's definitely a big-time wrestling fan, and she's really committed to doing this. It could be kind of fun.
Well, okay, I'm not arguing that Ronda Rousey would not be a phenomenal acquisition for WWE. She's well-known outside the world of wrestling and around the world, and it is something that we kind of flirt with the idea of having crossovers like that, and then when we do, it's kind of more production and flair than actual product, like when she was in the ring with The Rock against Stephanie and Triple H. You wanted so much more, and then you didn't get it, and a lot of that is because of the lack of training and so on and so forth, so you play it safe. I get it. But for me, it's just, I look at this, and if she's going to come on and be a full-timer, that's great. But this should not be her moment. This really needs to be the moment for someone else. And for me, personally, I hope that person that gets that moment is Nia Jax. Asuka has her undefeated streak. She never lost the NXT women's title. She's going to go down already as one of the best in the women's division ever. Charlotte obviously already has the title, so she can't participate, which I think would be another great accolade for her to have, but this isn't going to be the only women's rumble that we have, so clearly her time can come later. But this first one, it needs to be special. You need to set the bar, and you need to set it right and say, we're behind this women's division 110%, which is why Paige is our first winner, or Nia Jax, or Becky Lynch. Somebody that has been there when this whole thing started and is one of the reasons why we went from divas to women's superstars and why they're main eventing pay-per-views and they're getting their own of all these, themed pay-per-views and everything else going on in the world. It can't be an outsider, because I feel like that would really rob somebody else that has put in all the blood, sweat, and tears.
I absolutely agree with that point, and I will say that from a wrestling fan standpoint and somebody who kind of, looks at the bigger picture, I totally agree with that sentiment. But knowing, I've been watching this since the 80s, so I feel like I have a pretty good idea of, what Vince does and what Vince thinks as much as anyone can. And, I could see from the business side of it, I could see where having Ronda Rousey come in there and win it would be, the move based on, strictly from a business perspective, because the amount of, mainstream talk they're going to get from this is going to be out of this world. And if you know anything about anything, is that Vince loves when the mainstream is talking about him. So,
well, and I feel like Ronda would get a great pop when she came out and enters the
absolutely
ring, but I honestly feel like she would get booed if she wins. It'd be like a Roman Reigns thing where it's like you thought it was going to be something else, but here's what we're going to give you, and you're going to like it, and they won't like it.
I don't think it would happen if she won. I think it would happen if that led to a Roman Reigns type of push afterwards, where they're basically just going to shove her down your throat, and
Ugh, don't want that. No. So what was your favorite part about 2017? Doesn't have to be wrestling or football related. Could be anything, but obviously, those are always the popular topics to discuss.
Well, you know what? I'll be a little bit sappy, because I actually ended up losing my job at the end of 2016. Actually, not quite the end. It was October. And so I had been, definitely kind of a little bit panicked about that, being a man, family, 2 kids, got to take care of them. And, wanted to find something, especially after we had just moved out here to Seattle a year or so earlier. So I ended up getting with a great company on a temporary assignment in early April. Was there for a couple of months and didn't disgust them enough to have them bring me on full time in July. So I would say that that was definitely the high point of my year, followed very closely by making my initial appearance on the Fan Show and winning the Fan Show League.
Listen to this kiss ass on the show right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is prime radio right now. Well, I just
want to make sure you'll keep bringing me back, Richard.
I will say that one of my favorite things about what I do, and I get a lot of people that when I think about, you have Thanksgiving week, Christmas week, you have the end of the year, you have all these different points in the year. Obviously, the anniversary of when the show started, episodes 100, 200, upcoming 300 next year, and you think about, what do you want to do for it? Who do you want to have on? And if you ask people, they'll be like, oh, you should bring back like Adam Rank from NFL Network, or hey, try to get one of the Super Troopers on. But, as great as that is, that just hasn't been me, and it hasn't been what the show is about, which is why this is the last episode of the year, and I couldn't think about a better opportunity to have one of the friends that I've made this year as a result of the show who won the league and gets to come on and talk. I'll take a conversation like this over trying to get people to tune in because of some big name being a guest. And I'm not opposed to a big name being a guest on the show, because I try my hardest to get them. But this is what the Fan Show was founded on. It's about you guys, and that's why I love having you guys on, because we can have conversations like this, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, the good thing is that the people can tune in next week and get somebody who's actually interesting, and, it's all good.
What are you hoping for in 2018?
I'm hoping that my Browns will win a friggin' football game.
God, I knew that was coming.
Come on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, honestly, just, have my family stay happy and healthy, and just continue the upward trend that we seem to have started this year.
What you need to do is become friends with someone who is playing like college football or something, and they're going to go on to the NFL, and whatever team they get with, you kind of are a little bit of a fanboy with them because you know somebody on that team, and then you can kind of transfer your fandom to them because hopefully it won't be the Browns, and you can have a valid excuse for why you root the way that you do. Because when my buddy Nick Hague, whose birthday was yesterday, and I called him, I remember when he went and worked out with the New York Giants, I was like, oh man, am I going to have to go and buy a New York Giants jersey now? And he was on the Colts roster for a period of time, and it's just like wherever he goes, even Seattle, I would have that jersey, and I would have to say that, for this time until he retires, like I am partially a fan to that team. So it can be kind of a nice little loophole.
You know what? Trust me. I have people constantly ask me whenever they see me wearing my Browns jerseys, like, "Oh my God, you root for the Browns?" And I just kind of sigh and I shake my head and say, I said I have been, I grew up. I think I told you the story before about my dad when I was, 7 or 8 years old, would quiz me on quiz me on the numbers of the players on the team back then.
Yep.
I have been stuck with this team. I've stuck with this team for better, for worse, for the last 47 years of my life. And I could probably go and root for a team that's better, but I feel like I have spent my life rooting for this team, and it's going to be that much better when they eventually are not the laughing stock of the league. So
very true. If Jacksonville can turn it around, anyone can.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very much a ride or die kind of fella. So.
Well, that's good. I think your Twitter handle though needs to be changed to Cleveland Bronze, because even now when I go to try to type in Cleveland, it will auto suggest one of three options, like how many L's do you want in Cleveland? And I'm like, oh my, we've come that far. Like it's been so it's been a lot of fun. But he is Cleveland Rob, or at Cleveland Rounds, and it is the funny parody kind of esque account of a football and wrestling fan who is a glutton for punishment, but a fantasy champion now, who will get a belt from the lovely folks at Undisputed Belts, and will have a new accessory to add to his daily work attire.
Absolutely. I plan on bringing that into the office the very first day I get it, and I'm going to be so utterly obnoxious it's not going to be funny.
I really hope you have a staff meeting that day. I really do.
I do too.
All right, Rob. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to be on the program tonight as my last guest of 2018 and the second winner of the Fan Nation Fantasy Football League. So you enjoy your weekend and have a happy new year.
Thank you very much. I am always happy to be on, my friend. Anytime you need me, you know where to find me. And just want to say thank you to you. Happy New Year to you and everyone else out there listening. Hope everyone has a great 2018.
All right. Thank you much, man. Have a good night.
You too, bud.
That was Rob, or Cleveland Rounds on the Twitter sphere. Always a fun time talking to him. I do enjoy our conversations. Like I said, he's not one of the celebrity guest names that I get on here, but it's what the fan show is truly all about. And that's you guys, the fans. That's why I always love to have the fans on here, and people get a chance to know these different personalities and people from all over. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the reasons why I decided to do this whole thing was you see so much on ESPN and NFL Network. They'll parade around the same analysts and experts over and over, and that's just, that's not my thing. I've got my go-to special guests, and they're a lot of fun, but we try to keep it more light and fun than anything else. So you heard him, folks. It came down to the Steelers releasing James Harrison and the Cowboys doing the most Cowboys thing that they could have done, which is lose to the Seahawks when it mattered the most. And I knew who he was referring to, but I wasn't going to ruin it for him. So, yeah, Tony Romo definitely had a butt fumble moment against the Seahawks, nonetheless, in the playoffs. I mean, wow. So, yeah, you heard him, ladies and gentlemen. Your Week 16 Butt Fumble Award winner is the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, all you had to do was win to keep your playoff hopes alive. It wasn't win and in, but you were at home against a wounded animal that is the Seattle Seahawks, and you just couldn't get it done. So congratulations, Dallas Cowboys. You're the Week 16 Butt Fumble Award winner. All right, folks. Well, I do want to thank you all for tuning in to this New Year's well, no, this isn't the New Year's special. This is the end of the year special, and we always have a great time here on the Fan Show. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at FanShowOfficial. Check out mybookie.ag. Use promo code The Fan Show. Go and check out UndisputedBelts.com. If you have a champion that's been crowned and you want to give them the gift of a champion, make them the undisputed champion of your league with an undisputed belt. They have some fantastic cookie cutter pre-designed ones, as well as you can customize your own. You've seen me with mine. I love it. I take it everywhere with me, including Fan Show Tour. We've got 2018 coming up and a new tour. You can stop by teespring.com/thefanshow to order a hoodie or a t-shirt and help support the Fan Show and the Fan Show Tour. That's how we fund this thing. But I do want to thank my sponsors and my partners and everything big that has happened over 2017. It's been a wild ride. I mean, to my right here, I have my hook that has all of my different credential lanyards and badges, and it truly is a humbling sight. It might not be much to the next person, but to me, it most certainly is. I see EWU, Eastern Washington University Eagles football is one of them on there hanging at the front. They were my most recent credentialed event. Got to go there for 2 games, and it was such a fantastic experience. Behind that, the Tinabulation or Tinabulation Music Festival, the first one here in Spokane. I'm so honored to be a part of that, and the musical acts and people that I got to meet along the way do something outside the football and sports hemisphere and get into some music, which you know I love. And then we've got the credentials from places like Salt Lake, the Salt Lake Screaming Eagles. That's like a relic in a collector's item at this point. But the Iowa Barnstormers, you guys were fantastic. Green Bay Blizzard, thank you so much. Arizona Rattlers, we'll see you again soon. The 2018 Fan Show Tour should be probably the best one yet, and I know that I say that having set a somewhat lower bar in 2017, but we're going to do this, and we're going to do this thing right, bigger and better. So much is planned for next year that I just can't even contain my excitement. But I got sponsored for the first time. I had as many as 3 sponsors. I had long-term contracts. I signed my first contract from Fantasy Sports Markets, and that was a lot of fun. And I got paid by mybookie.ag to do their ad spots on the show. And it's just been so incredible. And I want to thank all of you that tune in all 3 nights a week or even once a week. You download the podcast. You subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud. We got added to iHeartRadio. So 2017 was truly an amazing experience. I posted my 9. I got to interview Charlotte Flair, Real Big Fish. And it was just fantastic. It really was. So from me to you, to all of you listening, to Fan Nation, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys have truly made this special. And with that, you know where to find me. You know where to follow me. Let's tie a bow on it. Let's pop the champagne. Let's dim the lights. Let's get ready to lower the ball, grab a loved one, and get ready for the countdown as we say goodbye to 2017. I will see you next year, Fan Nation. So remember, for the last time in 2017, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners. And, of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.